Nowhere near
24?
retirement.
24.
You had a birthday the other day. I apologise.
Jeez, where were
Ripe
you?
old age of 24, so nowhere near retirement, and yet it's getting further away for you.
Oh, well, I could be near retirement when you get these big Sky News bucks. Oh, I tell you what, I'll be retiring tomorrow. I wish the boss, I'll talk to you afterwards about a pay rise. But as of Saturday, which is July 1, the retirement age is going to change from 65 to 67. Now, this is all because of rules that were brought into play by Kevin Rudd back in 2009. So if you were staring down the possibility of retirement and now you're not, you can blame good old K. Rudd for that. But as you would expect, tradies and unions are up in arms about this. The CFMEU and the Australian Workers' Union have come out today and said, well, look, you know, life is hard enough as it is when you're working as a brickie or a plumber or any other labourer. We're driving our bodies into the ground, and now you tell us we've got to work for another 2 years before we can get hold of our pension. A plumber spoke to the not the Sydney Morning Herald, bloody hell, the wrong paper, don't want to say that, the Daily Telegraph today, sorry. Darren Clancy said, I started plumbing when I was 16. It's impossible to get to 67. My knees, my back, it's all given in to years of hard work. It would be a nightmare to get to 65 and have to do 2 more years. Well, nightmare it may be, but it's reality as of Saturday. The Greens are now talking about the possibility of raising a private member's bill through the Senate to do something about this. I'm in two minds about this because I can understand why you'd be upset that your pension, you can't access it until you're 67 as opposed to 65, and presumably it's just going to go higher and higher and higher as time goes on. But you can access your super from 60. So there's no reason to say that you can't retire at 60 and draw on your super, and then at such time as you're able to get the pension, you can get onto the pension.
But that would mean they were still losing out for 7 years, when really at that point, if they've retired, they should be entitled to more.
But you've made the decision to be a plumber or a brickie or whatever, haven't you? You know that you're staring down that possibility of your body breaking down.
Sure, but Darren made that decision when he was 16. A lot of tradies do, because nobody middle-aged person is going to go through the apprenticeship. You get paid peanuts, you're picked on. It's, I think, 4 years for most trades where, yeah, you're basically earning nothing, but you are learning on the job, and therefore it's invaluable. So nobody really switches out of that. They may go on to start their own plumbing company or whatever the case may be, but I know guys even in their 30s in landscaping, and they're already questioning how long their bodies can hold out. This measure that was taken, and we understand their reasons for doing it, it completely overlooked labourers. Completely. Yep. And we can't live without them. They're an essential part of the economy as well as everyday people's lives, especially as we get dumber and unable to change a light bulb these days. We need our labourers.
That's my next job,
and yet here they are going, how on earth can we...
Well, and that's the point. It takes a guy who's working in an office in Canberra to imagine you can still be working at 67 years of age, because that's fair enough. But for a tradie on the tools, one of my boys wants to be a plumber. I've said you can do your apprenticeship, become a plumber, but you need to be owning the business by the time you're 30, because you don't want to be on the tools when you're 40 years old.
Indeed.
So you need to plan ahead.
And he would make very good money as a plumber. I mean, I've continually said we put way too many kids through university when they should be going out and getting a trade, and you're on the job, you're earning money straight away, and then once you're out of your apprenticeship, there's scope to make really good money. But is it possible, though, to have a two-tiered system whereby you would say people who work in labour, hard labour, can have a lower retirement age than those people who work behind a desk? Is that something that would actually be viable? Because if not, I mean, that's the only other option.
It's not only viable, it's a must. Otherwise, people like Darren are going to fall through the cracks, and he's not alone. Also, what they don't seem to have taken into account with this move is that ageism is a very real thing when people are looking for jobs. I know a great many ladies who I've met in different offices working throughout my career. They're now either in their 50s or 60s, and looking for jobs is a nightmare for them. And I would ask why, because if I was an employer, I'd be
Yeah.
looking for people their age. I'm now talking about more admin kind of work, because they work much harder, they show up on time, they're incredibly reliable, unlike the younger generations, and yet they find it almost impossible when they're job hunting. They take their birth dates off their resumes, etc., and so on. But then it's very hard when you're rocking up at an interview, because obviously your employer's prospective employer is going to be like, oh, that's not what I was expecting.
Or your name's Beryl or something.
But the bottom line is this basically insists that unless you're very well-to-do, obviously, which obviously Middle Australia isn't, you're going to be working for a lot longer, and it's simply not feasible, not only for the labourers' reason, but this ageism reason.
And the problem is, I mean, Joe Hockey talked about raising the age to 70 at one point. The Morrison government backed away from that. This is going to be a problem for governments, as they've found in France, where I think they tried to raise it from 62 to 64 or something.
And they had riots in the streets.
Crazy.
Literally, if you want to do something, I mean, you know, you can take a leaf out of the
big
French
thing
book.
here, though,
They got really serious.
Governments don't just have to think about the pension. The problem is we don't have enough young people to support the ageing population. What do we do to encourage people to have children? That's the long-term issue, and the government's not doing enough about that. Solve that problem, and the pension gets taken care
Caleb's
of.
not doing enough about that either, Caleb.
Oh, excuse me. What about you, Liz? Come on, takes two to
I went
tango.
straight into